Plaintiff Shirley Bloth rented her home to a friend. She claims the defendant's filthy habits caused smoke damage and a rat infestation. She is suing for $5,000. Defendants Renee, Mitchell, and Celia Fournier insist the plaintiff is a slumlord who never cleaned the place before they moved in. This mother-daughter duo say they owe their former friend nothing.
Shirley, you are suing Renee and Celia because you're saying you're a landlord and you're saying that they damaged your property. How?
Okay, there was a number of different things, but initially that home was my home. I lived there, and a lot of things changed over a couple of years' time. And originally we were actually friends, and we chatted a lot on the phone. She was a friend of a friend, that's how I got introduced to her. And you know, she had talked about moving back to Connecticut again, so I said, well, if you're interested, you know, I have a 2-bedroom apartment, it's you and your daughter. Sounds like that would work. And so we agreed on, you know, certain stipulations, the lease and all that.
You said this was your home?
Yes. Well, I didn't live there anymore.
Oh.
I ended up renting the home for $12.50 a month. And then each year she needed to go through something called a VASH grant inspection. And that's people who pay a portion of her rent have to do an inspection, kind of like a Section 8. So I have to be there, they have to be there, they go through the apartment and do an inspection.
The money that you get from this Veterans Association housing assistance, right?
Yes.
Okay. Does that go to the landlord or does that go to the tenant?
It goes to me.
It goes to you, okay.
And she pays the difference.
And she pays the difference, I
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
and so they were there for 4.5 years.
Almost.
Almost 4.5
Yes,
years.
but after about 2 years, and I'm not really sure what happened, but you know, the relationship deteriorated tremendously. There were a lot of issues at the house, parking issues, rat issues.
The rat issue existed when we moved in there. When I said to Shirley that we had a rat issue, she called the health department on me, insinuating it was me who caused the rat issue.
And what was the rat issue?
So the rats were always in the walls. We could hear them, but it really didn't bother me too much. I lived in a house. You get rodents, you get them through the attic and stuff.
They started building nests.
Right, and we were seeing them in the actual apartment.
And you complained to the landlord?
Right, so her recourse was to call the health department on me.
Actually, that's not accurate. I didn't call the health department just because of that. I called the health department because of all the other issues. Clothing strewn about all the rooms, accumulated garbage everywhere.
No.
It's false.
If you were unhappy, you could have said, this isn't working out, and find another tenant.
Right, that's
But
what
you
I did
decided-
in August of 2018. I did do that. I was working on helping her find another place to live. I many times had texted her phone numbers of locations. She didn't make the move on her end to get
That's not
out,
true.
and
Okay.
I let that go for too long. I agree. In the meantime, I lost my husband, I lost my daughter. I had some issues in my own life, and this was really taking such a heavy emotional toll on me. And the finances wasn't the biggest part of it. This was really about the verbal abuse. I mean, if you look on Exhibit G, you'll see that there was verbal abuse not only to me, but to the health department, to the chimney guy who came to do a repair, to the neighbor downstairs.
I don't know where she's getting this from.
It's all documented in my reports here. And so this continued, and I kept giving her the benefit of the doubt that she was actually looking for a place to live. Come to find out she wasn't.
Yes, I was.
And well, if she didn't find
Why
it, I
did
was.
you, okay, why did you stay?
Honestly, I'm
Yeah.
going to be straight up and honest. My credit is poor. I get HUD VASH. I'm guaranteed payment through HUD VASH, but I could not get a rent because they look at my credit. And I'm like, you could get a guy with great credit come into your apartment and he loses his job and can't pay you, but you're always going to get paid because I get it through HUD VASH, being a veteran. I had HUD VASH workers who would send me apartments and I would call. And the minute they see my credit, they would turn me down.
All right, so I understand why you both stayed.
It basically continued because I didn't want to throw her out. I'm not a mean person. I'm not going to throw it on the
Okay.
street. I didn't even go through the eviction process until I felt I had no other option.
Now, specifically, and you had a list here of what the damages were. Mm-hmm. And do we have pictures? Let's take a look at the pictures.
Mind you, these are probably more than likely photoshopped.
I don't know how to Photoshop, so they're not. Okay. That's what the refrigerator looked like after I emptied it. It was pretty disgusting. These were things that were just left in the apartment.
These
I
were
filled the-
boxes, one
I
box,
filled the
and all her
dumpster
stuff.
4 times with the garbage that was left.
A lot of that stuff was hers.
A lot of that
too.
stuff was hers.
AC, heaters.
Heaters, AC.
Stains to the walls. She smoked in the apartment. She had agreed not to smoke in the apartment, and she did.
That- I will
And it was
own that.
heavily damaged from smoke. It was so heavily damaged that if you look at the people who did the cleaning and the painting, they literally had to clean the place 3 times in order to get to a place where they could paint. And even after they painted and I used stain blocker, I still had nicotine bleeding through
There's no way.
ceilings
That's a total
and walls.
exaggeration, Tim.
And
There's
that
no
is
way.
not an exaggeration.
Complete
It's
exaggeration.
listed in there.
Okay,
Lived in a
here's
house for
what I
23
see.
years.
She
All
probably
right.
had somebody.
Ma'am, 1 second.
We
That
lived
has
there
nothing
for,
to do
excuse
with what
me,
I
excuse
am
me.
if I am one.
Let her
We
answer.
lived there for 4 years. We lived there with
She
rodents.
agreed that she was
Well,
going to leave
first
it
we
in a
lived
mess.
Hang on,
there.
ma'am.
Go
Let
ahead.
her answer.
We moved in with the house not clean. When we moved in, there was a crack pipe in between 2 mattresses in the room that I stayed in. We don't feel like we should have had to necessarily, deep clean. We cleaned most of our clutter. We took most all of our stuff. We left her
What about
heaters.
heat? There was something in your
Okay,
filing.
yeah.
So countless times, I have at least between 10 and 12 times in 2018 to 2020 where I had no heat and I kept having to ask her to turn the heat on. I also
Okay,
spent 8
so
days.
you didn't have heat, and you asked her to turn it on. Did you turn the heat on?
Absolutely.
Oh, no, wait.
No.
What?
I had 8 days of no heat with this woman, and she did nothing about it except
It wasn't
give me,
that I had
excuse me,
no choice. I
she
could
gave
not
me
get a hold of
electric
the guy to
heaters.
get in there.
She did nothing about it. There's also a
I gave her
statue.
additional
Let her
heat.
finish.
Ma'am, let her
It's
finish.
your exhibit H.
Yep.
That says that if I'm without all the necessary items, it's highlighted that after 48 hours, she has to provide housing for me. I went 8 days with no heat with this woman, and she gave me electric
Heaters.
I gave her
electric
space heaters to back
when
it up.
she should have
Ma'am,
done her
stop
job
speaking. Let her
as a
finish.
landlord and gave me housing and then tried to charge me more money for electricity that I incurred during that time
For having these
for having no
spaces.
heat. When all this, I should have been able to take money off my rent. I should have been put in a hotel after 2 days or
Yeah.
other things. She didn't do any of that. She owes me money.
I did get the furnace guy there as quickly as I could.
I believe you
when
did,
we
but
were
in
out
the
of
meantime-
heat. And that's why I gave her space heaters. It was basically an ongoing problem since the time in June when I asked her to verbally to leave and she agreed to leave until she actually did leave due to the eviction process. And when
Okay.
she left with the eviction process, she basically sent me some pretty nasty texts and swearing and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this was an ongoing thing.
Read me the text, if you would.
It said, "What time can I meet you tomorrow for the key and the apartment inspection?" She said, "You can't. I'm leaving keys and you can take your apartment inspection and shove it up your fill in the blank." I said, "Thank you very much. I hope you have a great life." She wrote, "Ha ha, I have no lease with you. I have no contract. Have fun cleaning it. Ha ha."
Okay.
She called me names
Which is true.
more than a few times. I am not a slumlord. That is my home. I would never have left it in the condition that it was in, the way it
Never
looked
fixed
when I got in there to look at it.
If you weren't a slumlord, you would have fixed the things we asked you to fix the countless times. Our plumbing,
There
our
was
ceiling.
The leaks
You-
in the roof that
Everything.
caused
The
the
leaks in the
carpet
roof were there,
damage.
but they
Okay.
did things that were just nasty. They took the
No.
batteries out of all the smoke detectors.
There
when
were
they
no
left.
smoke detectors when
They
we moved
left-
in there, so
they-
we bought
they-
them.
those batteries.
We bought
There
the
were
batteries.
smoke detectors.
they
I'm
weren't.
allowed.
Ma'am.
Here's what I see. Obviously, this was not an ideal situation. Part of being a landlord, you're, in a sense, turning your property over for a time where people are going to live. They may not have the same lifestyle that you have. They may not have the same cleaning habits you have. Yeah, that's one of the reasons you charge whatever rent you decide to charge, is because it isn't going to be exactly as you live. Welcome to the world of being a landlord.
Right, I
Yeah,
expect some of that.
let me finish.
Yeah.
When people move out, you're going to have to clean. And if there are a lot of garbage bags, there are a lot of garbage bags. If there are a lot of stains and stuff like that, within normal wear and tear, and they were there for 4.5 years, and part of what you had as a security deposit has to go to cleaning the place up if you decide you're going to rent to somebody else afterwards. In terms of what you're suing for, that doesn't persuade me. I understand why you're upset, and the language you guys use with each other isn't appropriate, but I can't give you that kind of money based on the fact that the place was dirty when they left. You had expenses up to $6,000, and when I look at some of them, cleaning the walls, the tub leak, the sink repair, sink should have been repaired while you were the landlord.
She didn't tell me it was leaking.
No.
Well,
I'll
okay,
say
but
Yeah.
still the landlord's responsibility. I've decided on the floor repair, I am going to give you that verdict for the plaintiff in the sum of $1,500.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
The people who are in there now are very clean, so I hope they stay for a while.
I'm saddened that a relationship of 30-something years ended like this.
Thanks for watching. Now please approach the bench. The way I look at it, you have two options here. Option A, watch more Judge Jerry. Option B, watch more Jerry Springer. The choice is yours. Now get out of my courtroom. You have more clips to watch. And don't forget to subscribe.